Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, we have more Dogman and Cryptid Canine accounts to read through today, folks. Both of them are truly interesting, and I can't wait to get into them today. The first article we'll be reading is Northern Illinois resident intimidated by upright human-like canine monster, and read this guy's account of how he encountered a veritable wolf man. Let's start off with this brief blurb from it and then get into the actual account. I saw the animalistic glowing eyes when I flashed my headlamp in its direction and a human-like figure as it followed me to the north, separated by an electric fence. So, just from that brief blurb, folks, this creature was following this man, and while he could have felt safe by being separated from this creature by an electric fence, now, I don't really think so, folks. I think most people, even if they knew that there was no way that this creature could get at them, would still feel intimidated by this upright walking creature following them. Either way, let's get into the actual story now. I've never heard of the Dogman or Brave Road Beast until a year ago. My fiance told me about this because I saw that creepy monster behind my wide open pasture, no stumps, no trees, no dirt piles, or anything else that it could stand on, just towering 3 to 4 feet taller than my 54-inch, give or take, 2 by 3 inches tall horse fence. So this creature was basically taller than this guy's fence, and remember, it was electric. And this guy was probably still frightened of his mind as he was watching this huge creature stalk him. And I mean that, folks. The experimenter says it was following him, but I have no doubt that this creature was actually stalking him. But there could be a caveat here, folks. Maybe this creature, like in various Bigfoot accounts, was not basically going to attack him. Maybe it was just frightening him and was stalking him just to basically make this guy wary and scared of it. Now, this could be because maybe this Dogman thinks that this land that this guy is living on is his land, and he wants to basically drive him out, and he did so by showing himself to this particular witness. We'll learn more about that as we read more of the article, folks, but first, I just want to say, do you think that could be the truth, that this creature was trying to frighten this man and maybe any other humans on the land, well, off of it? Possibly. But we'll talk more about that after we finish this experiencer's story. I saw the animalistic glowing eyes when I flashed my headlamp in its direction and a human-like figure as it followed me to the north, separated by an electric fence. My firearm drawn, aimed, and unlocked. I didn't have a need to hurt it, so I just gave it space and privacy as I retreated undoubtedly, fearful, intimidated, confused, and full of wonder as I still questioned WTF on earth it was that I was looking at. I'm not saying this thing is the answer, but I won't rule it out just yet. Has anybody in Northern Illinois reported seeing this to you? Can you please reply with any similar sightings anywhere close to here? Elkhorn, Wisconsin is the closest place that has numerous reports, which is less than 35-40 miles from here, Jay. There's also a note, folks, with probably a reply to this guy's, question. These sightings are not unusual for the entire region, let alone the number of other cryptid sightings in the same Chicagoland area, namely the winged humanoids and other flying phenomena. I'm attempting to gather more information from this witness, and undoubtedly this information will probably be very, very intriguing, folks, and I can't wait to basically for updates to this particular story. Do you think that this Dogman has any connection to the flying cryptids? The Chicago Mothman sightings that have been taking place for the last decade or so? I would love to basically know, folks. For all we know, the Mothman and the Dogman are related. Maybe they're not actually really monsters or basically really what we're seeing, folks. Perhaps these creatures are shapeshifters and they're taking forms that go around frightening people because maybe they somehow feed off fear. Because maybe some people have speculated that they're tulpas, or at least some people have basically speculated cryptids like this are tulpas and that they live and basically are able to manifest in the world by absorbing negative energy or fear from people. Maybe that's exactly what was happening here. But then again, maybe this creature that this man saw wasn't some sort of shapeshifter, but really was a Dogman. Now, why this creature was on this guy's land, we just don't know. Maybe it really was some sort of alien, because that's what some people have also speculated what Dogman is. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Either way, folks, we can only speculate why people are seeing, Dogman and the Mothman in and around Chicago and Illinois. Either way, let's get to our next article. I believe Dogman lives on our Michigan property. Here we have another article detailing a cryptid sighting of a Dogman that takes place in Michigan, and Michigan is the state above Illinois, folks. So while they're not exactly close together, they're in the same general area of the United States where people are seeing these cryptids. So, that is in itself very strange, folks. Is there any relationship? Maybe. But let's get into this little brief blurb and then read the full account. Then we'll basically wonder if there's any actual relationship. I remember one time we were at camp and I was in the camper and I saw a tall shadow run across, and then in the window out of the tree like there was just a tall creature. So this guy was basically sitting in the camper, and just outside as it ran across the window, this shadow, he basically saw it as basically this very tall creature, folks. So I can imagine it was probably frightening for this man to see this. Like in the last account, folks, but do you think he freaked out, or what do you think he actually did when he actually basically saw this shadow, but maybe he also saw something else that basically followed it? Maybe a real Dogman sighting, folks. We'll just read on and find out. Hello, sir. I've been meaning to contact you about something seen on our property. My dad and I have property up in Mystic, Michigan, right on the Ministry River, and we do a lot of our dirt bike riding and night riding. I don't know if I've ever seen it, but something always seems off. I always get the feeling of being watched. Other family and friends have said the same thing. About a year ago, we were doing a night ride, and it was 3 of us. I laid my bike down in a mud pit, and it was probably one time I wanted to get out of the trails as fast as I could. It just felt off and too dangerous to be there. There have been times we were on side-by-side bikes and there were weird shadows out on the power line trails that go on for miles. I remember one time we were at camp and I was in the camper and I saw a tall shadow run across and then in the window out on the tree line like there was just a tall creature. I don't know if it was the Dogman or what, but it definitely had me spooked. I believe in the Dogman, and all I can say is don't let down your guard, G. So this guy did not actually see the Dogman, folks. It could also be that he saw Bigfoot, but the fact he did mention one interesting detail in his story here, folks. He said he saw a bunch of shadows along possibly with his father that he couldn't explain out on this trail. Now, we've talked about before, folks, that Glimmerman and sometimes even Bigfoot can basically cloak themselves. Well, supposing that Dogman can too, folks, but sometimes he can basically, well, let his shadow be seen, but he himself not be. Perhaps these shadows were those of the Dogman, and maybe they were actually staying right there, and he couldn't see it because it was dark, and this figure, this thing, was cloaked, but allowed its shadow to be seen so as to spook the witnesses that were driving by on their motorbikes. And you're probably wondering why, folks. As I said before in the last account, folks, I figured this Dogman revealed himself to this witness because he wanted to frighten this man off of his property. Maybe, like in the last story, folks, these entities wanted to spook these humans out of what they perceive as their territory. Now, if indeed Dogman is some sort of alien being, you're probably wondering why it would basically do this. Doesn't it come from some sort of spaceship? Well, maybe, folks. But then again, maybe these entities do live on this land, but they do so invisibly, so no ordinary human can see them. And folks, if these figures and entities do live on this land, I would say that they've probably been there for God knows how long, and in their minds, they would see this land as theirs. So it's no doubt this explains why these entities are indeed trying to frighten these people off. But if they are aliens, folks, maybe they're doing this because they want to basically gauge the fear response in these witnesses, because that's the only actual explanation I can come up with, folks. And the fact that these entities are actually living there, that sounds a little more, well, at least sane to me, folks, because them basically just frightened people off of their land and did so because they wanted to basically gauge the fear response in humans. Because they're alien beings and they're basically studying humans. How many times have I used that explanation in some of my videos? And how many more times will I have to use it, folks? It's not that it's a boring explanation. It's just the fact that you can't always use the same explanation for every video. So I would say, at least in this case, folks, these entities were trying to frighten these people because these creatures were living on the land that these humans were inhabiting. But that's just me, folks. What do you think about the actual answer to any of these accounts, folks? Do you think that these people were just seeing things and that's the mundane answer to it? Or do you think that these entities are actually living on their lands and these entities, well, maybe not while hostile, they're certainly not friendly to humans? Do you believe this, or do you think it's all just, well, tall tales? I personally think that I do think that these entities exist, folks, but that's just me. Anyway, we're at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.